is I, Ronald Reagan, the uncommon voice for the common man, coming to you today live from Shadyside, Ohio, where today is the 100th anniversary of the birth of the greatest president in the last 50 years, Ronald Wilson Reagan. To me, it is amazing that after all this time, that when we find ourselves as a nation in trouble or the world needs guidance, you can still go back to the wisdom of Ronald Reagan to pull us out of the mess that we find ourselves in today. In fact, I would go a step further than that. I would say that the very principles that he believed in has spawned an entire movement that encompasses 1 million people that stand tall for the things that he believes in and that will change the course of history again. This man made so many great statements that were just perfectly logical and apply to the situation that we have today. Listen to what this man said and apply them to what we see today in our government and in the world and as a whole. It is absolutely incredible to listen. Listen to this. Government's view of the economy can be summed up in a few short phrases. If it moves, tax it. If it keeps moving, regulate it. And if it stops moving, subsidize it. He also said this: governments tend not to solve problems, only to rearrange them. And when you think about the international scene of what's going on in the world, listen to this. History teaches us that war begins when government believes the price of aggression is cheap. Now, how in God's name do you cannot apply what they just said to the situation that we see in Egypt? How? Now listen to this. I want you to listen to this very, very closely now and apply it to what we have with our government today. Listen to this. How do you tell a communist? Well, it's someone who reads Marx and Lenin. And how do you tell an anti-communist? It's someone who understands Marx and Lenin. You tell me, is the man a genius or is the man a genius? Now, this man stood for so many different things that makes this country right and what is good. Listen to this. I know in my heart that man is good, and what is right will always eventually triumph, and there's purpose and worth to each and every life. Now that is a man who understands things, and that's why this man is loved, and he will always be loved. What it is with Ronald Reagan is that Ronald Reagan did not believe in this big, powerful government. Ronald Reagan believed in us as individuals, as people that come together, solve problems, and do great things, and more importantly, do good in the world. That's exactly right. Ronald Reagan understood that the best weapon that we have is liberty and freedom. That's what I always said about the war in Iraq. If the one thing that we had going for us didn't have anything to do with the tanks, bombs, or airplanes, it had to do with the basic idea of simple human freedom. And Reagan summed it all up by saying this: a free people will always choose peace. And he sums it up by saying this too: above all, we must realize that no arsenal or no weapon in the arsenals of the world is so formidable as the will and moral courage of free men and women. It is a weapon our adversaries in today's world do not have, and we as Americans do have. That's why this man's principles endure even to this day, and that's why his legacy will endure long beyond this day as well, because Ronald Reagan believed in this great nation. He believed that this nation was a shining city on a hill. And if you think I'm whistling Dixie, let me explain something to you. This man actually said in his farewell address to people like me to people with the Tea Party, and basically to all Americans who can understand what this great man said. He said that he has left this shining city on the hill in good hands. And that's me, and that's you, and that's all Americans who understand just exactly how precious it is that we have our liberty and our country. And this is a good country, and it does the right thing when it needs to be done. And that is the legacy of Ronald Wilson Reagan. Until next time, this is Ronald Reagan, who is proud to take his name from the great Ronald Reagan, saying this to you now. When news breaks out, my tirades break in. Over and out.